Hello everyone, welcome back to SteamCode. In this video we're going to be continuing with our converter. So let's just jump right into it. So let's hop into our function convertNum. We're going to be adding some stuff to it to help deal with these larger numbers. So first let's get rid of this that we created in the last video. And then the first thing we're going to say is if absnum, so if the absolute value of the number is in ones, so if it's a one-digit number, then numText plus equals ones absnum. This is just ensuring that we take care of that if it ever comes up. And then else if absnum is less than 100, numText plus equals 2-digit or less convert absnum. So now we have something that deals with any number that's less than 100. Now we're going to head into the part that's going to be probably the most complicating. So else then var numArray, this is a variable we're creating right now, equals SplitNum absnum. So we're about to create this SplitNum function in just a bit, and what it will do is it will split this absnum, this number, whatever number it is, it'll split it into arrays that have a maximum length of 3. So say it's a 4-digit number, then there would be 2 arrays. The first one would have a length of 1, and the second one would have a length of 3. And then it puts all of those arrays inside of one large array, and that array is numArray. Alright? Then we're going to be creating another variable. Let count equal numArray dot length. And this count variable will allow us to associate the proper suffix, that's what I call them, to each group of 3 digits. So say numArray was 4, say it had a length of 4, then the suffix will be billion, which means that at the end, after we're done converting that first 3-digit or less group of numbers, we're going to add billion to the end. And then we're going to be decreasing count all the way until we get to 1, and there's no suffix to be added if there are 3 digits or less. So that's what count will be doing. And now we're going to be using our for loop. So let's say for I is equal to 0, I is less than numArray dot length I plus plus, then we're going to say if numArray I 0 is not equal to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So what are we doing here? So what we're doing is we're going to the proper, okay, so first we're converting the number into groups and adding their suffixes. And then we're going to be going to the proper converter depending on the number of digits in the array, if the array is not filled with zeros, as you see here. So if that array is not just filled with zeros, in which case we won't convert it, then if numArray I 0 dot length is equal to 3, then numText plus equals 3-digit convert of parse int numArray I. So remember, this is saying if that array has a length of 3, if that subarray has a length of 3, then just send it to the proper converter, which is the 3-digit convert, and add that to numText. Then after that, we're just going to add the suffix. So we're going to say numText plus equals space plus suffixes and count. And remember what I said earlier, the count just represents the proper suffix to add at the end. It's also the same if that array is 2 digits or less. So else, we can really just copy this. And then we're going to change this from 3-digit convert to 2-digit or less convert. 2-digit or less convert. And at the bottom here, we're going to be decreasing count by 1. And then else, we also need to decrease count by 1 as well. Alright. So remember, what this is doing is it's saying it's going through that for loop of that split array we just created with SplitNum. And then if that array is not just filled with zeros, then we're going to send that number to the proper converter and get it back, add the suffix at the end. Then regardless whether it's filled with zeros or not, count needs to be decreased. So we're just going to decrease count as well regardless. And that's really all we need for this convertNum function. So now let's add the SplitNum function so that everything actually works. So function SplitNum, it will take in one variable, and that variable will be called num. So let's initialize a few variables. So let num array equal an empty array. Var num string is equal to num dot toString. Then var count is equal to 0. Then var temp array. This will also be an empty array. What this temp array is, it's the array that we're going to be using to break apart this full number, this num, and it's going to represent the smaller arrays that are within that larger array. Then let's create another variable. So var single digits is equal to num string dot split, then empty space. So what this is doing is it is converting the num, or the num string, the string representation of num, to an array, to a 2D array filled, or just a normal array filled with single digits. It's splitting with the delimiter as an empty space, an empty string. So now we're going to be adding these digits into groups of 3 or less. So var digits equals single digits dot length. We're just getting the total number of digits of the number. Then for var I equals digits minus 1. I is greater than or equal to 0. Then I minus minus. Then temp array 0 is equal to single digits I plus temp array 0. So we're just adding that digit, the first digit, to temp array, and then incrementing count by 1. Then temp array 0 equals temp array 0 dot replace undefined with an empty string. What this is doing is just replacing any undefineds we might pick up if with the number that we create. You might find, if you leave out this line, you will find some undefineds that are just picked up by the algorithm, but this takes care of all of them. And then if count mod 3 is equal to 0, then num array dot unshift temp array, and then we're setting temp array back to 0, or back to an empty array. So what this is saying is, if count mod 3, and remember the mod operator returns the remainder after division has been done. So if this is if count is divisible by 3, which would mean the remainder is 0, then numArray.unshift temp array. Unshift just means add the number to the beginning of the array instead of the back of the array. Then set temp array back to nothing so that we can restart the process over again. And then what if we're at the end of the number of digits and we just need to add that to the num array? Then we can say if temp array dot length is not equal to 0. So at the end of this for loop, once everything's been done, if there's still some things left inside of temp array, then num array dot unshift temp array. So it's adding whatever's inside of temp array to the beginning of num array. Then at the very end, we're just going to return num array. Alright, let's see how this looks. So if we reload, then first let's put in a simple number, so 8 returns that. Let's put in a 2-digit number, 82. Let's try 825. Alright, just before we continue, I'd like to point out that you need to have an S at the end of this variable declaration, var single digits. I did not have an S at the end when I first started, so make sure you add that and everything will work out normally. So let's check it out. Let's put in a single digit number, so say 7, then it produces that number. Let's try 9, 79, perfect. Let's try 790, maybe 7,905. Alright, it seems to be working perfectly. So as you can see, once we reach a number that's higher than 1 trillion, it produces an error. And you can really fix this in whatever way you want. You can come up here, add another suffix, say quadrillion, and then just increase the num limit to whatever you want, and you can change how the highest number that the user is able to make. Alright, so that's it for this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave them in the comment section below. Check out our GitHub. This code is posted there. You can check it out. It's all commented, so you can understand where this code came from. Also, check out our Patreon, and leave us a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. This has been SteamCode. I will see you next time.